The phone is up, red light blinking, wheels grinding on the cliff's rough edge. Fog presses close. The son steadies the chair, then the scarf on his mother's shoulder. He angles the lens down, framing the drop. The wife rests a hand on his arm. "Now," she whispers. A boot lifts. A breath hangs between them. The kick lands. The chair shoots forward. Metal bites rock. A short scream tears the Lagos wind. An accident gives him control of Grace Mount. The scarf snags. One red thread clings to a thorn like a witness. The camera keeps recording. No one speaks. Far below, a woodcutter looks up as a crash breaks the valley air. Up on the ridge, the son wipes his face. "It's done," he says. The wife starts a fake cry, hits record again, and turns away from the edge. The fog folds like a door. One device did not stop. Before this day, there was early work and honest sweat. Lagos woke before the sun, and so did a young couple with one table. He hauled steel and sand. She checked numbers with a baby sleeping on her lap. They joked their office was one table and one prayer, but their books were clean. When their first project finished, he took her hand and smiled softly. "Let our work be called Grace Mount," he said, "built with grace, not tricks." They had no extra money, only careful records and steady hands. People began to trust them. Orders grew slow and real. They learned to say no to the fast lie and yes to the slow truth. Every contract was checked twice. Every payment left a trail that anyone could follow. The company rose like a careful wall, brick by brick, month by month. Years passed. The name Grace Mount meant honest work across the city. Then his heart failed and the streets felt suddenly quiet. Workers stood in black. The widow sat by the coffin with steady eyes. "I will guard what you built," she whispered. "Greed will not live here." She kept her promise. Even when her legs weakened, she came to every meeting. If a deal looked easy but smelled wrong, she refused it without fear. "When you do what is right, the company breathes," she told her team. "When you cheat, it dies." On her window, a small plant her husband loved drank the morning light. Each day she watered it and said, "Good morning, my promise." Her son grew up in comfort. Best schools, good suits, the praise came early. At 28, he walked through the lobby like he already owned the building. He hugged his mother. She felt the chill inside that warm gesture. He stared at the logo, Grace Mount, and felt small under it. In the hall, people smiled past him to greet his mother with respect. That respect felt like a shadow across his face, heavy and cold. A hard voice rose in his chest. "You will not be the man in that picture while she stands by it. Erase the frame. Take the room. I will do better than you," he said one evening, soft but sharp. It sounded like a promise. He meant a fight. She smiled anyway. "Just remember why this house is named Grace," she said. "Gold is a metal. Grace is a compass." She stepped back from the spotlight and let him hold more tasks. Photographers loved his smooth talk and bright watch. He loved the applause and the interviews calling him the future. Then Amara arrived, bright as a magazine cover. The press called her perfect. She laughed at the right moments. She posed with charity boxes and knew how to tilt a room her way. The wedding looked like a movie. Lights, flowers, a choir that could move stone. His mother clapped from her chair and tried to be only happy. But a thin wind walked the room, polite, bright, and very cold. She smiled, yet a quiet worry touched her heart and would not leave. The new culture arrives softly, with smiles and calendar invites that look harmless. Amara speaks in warm tones during hallway chats, then edits names off meeting lists. David repeats her words, calm and smooth, like oil poured on still water. "Let Mama rest," Amara says, the phrase everyone can agree with at first. She brings gifts to staff, takes photos, posts captions about gratitude and growth. After each post, one old policy is removed without discussion. Finance approvals shrink to 2 signatures, both of them young and eager. Files move at night. Emails go out at dawn. No paper on the table. The legal team is told to modernize permissions. The word sounds clean. A junior analyst notices 3 contracts routed away from the founder's desk. He asks a question and gets a smile that feels like a warning. He takes the hint and looks away. Others do the same in silence. In the boardroom, David speaks of speed. Everyone nods. No one breathes deeply. Speed hides noise. Noise hides doubt. Doubt is now a private crime. Vendor terms are renegotiated quietly, then rewritten in softer language that misleads. Pilot allocation replaces sale of rights. It looks temporary. It is not. The bank sees money moving in thin lines, clever and hard to see. Transfers are cut into pieces, then timed to land under routine thresholds. A manager opens a report and watches numbers behave like trained birds. She closes the laptop slowly and decides not to be the first to speak. Amara's smile widens when old managers avoid her eyes in the elevator. The message spreads without a memo. Do not bring bad news upstairs. Security badges change color. Meeting rooms change names. The founder's chair moves to a corner. Her plant still sits in the window drinking light like nothing has changed. But reservations need her final signature, so delays feel like sabotage to them. They don't fear competitors anymore. They fear her last veto. At home, the mother waters the plant and reads minutes line by line. Sentence by sentence, the story feels wrong. The tone has lost weight. She circles an item about a pilot allocation scheduled for Friday evening. There is no pilot. There is only a door someone wants to close. She asks to review the source documents and gets a cheerful delay. On Monday, Amara says, soft voice, soft eyes, soft knife. The mother looks at the hallway camera and notices a new blind spot. The maintenance log mentions a lens under cleaning. It stays under cleaning. The floor outside the finance room shines with new wax. Shoes do not squeak, but there is a skid mark near the vault cabinet that will not buff out. Someone dragged a heavy case after hours, then wiped prints and forgot the floor. The junior analyst sees it too and takes a photo out of frame. He saves it to a private drive and locks his phone with a simple prayer. At the end of the week, a courier delivers 3 sealed envelopes to legal. Inside each, numbers smile. The totals are small. The pattern is not. Old managers trade looks across glass walls and decide to wait one more day. Culture shifts first. Scandal waits for the right room, right light, right push. The invitation arrives with honeyed words and a promise of clean air. Let's go to the mountains, Mama, no meetings. Only rest and fresh sky. The doctor's note on her desk advises gentle travel for peace of mind. Amara quotes it back like scripture and brings tea in a bright cup. David stands beside the window and says the city is too loud. Come away just a weekend. You need quiet more than we need work. He smiles the way a billboard smiles, perfect, wide, and hard to read. They fear her last veto more than any enemy in the market. But they speak of waterfalls, cool mist, and how stars look near the ridge. They plan the trip with clean calendars and cheerful messages to the staff. The mother agrees, because love chooses hope even when facts look strange. She folds the scarf her husband once bought from a street vendor in Lagos. There is a loose red thread on its edge that she never cut. She keeps it for no reason except memory, and memory is reason enough. Amara checks the trunk. Blanket, tea flask, camera bag, spare battery, gloves. David confirms the route, the hour, and the weather near the overlook. He tells the driver to fuel up and keep the dashcam running for safety. The driver nods and sets the camera to loop. It does not loop that day. On the highway, Lagos hums and opens into long green corridors. Palm fronds tremble as the road climbs into cooler air and slower time. They speak of childhood stories. They laugh at old slogans and old shoes. Amara compliments the scarf and touches the loose thread with careful fingers. She looks out at the peaks and says a prayer anyone would trust. The mother smiles and repeats, gold is a metal, grace is a compass. David's knuckles tighten on the wheel just for a moment, then smooth again. They pass a fuel truck with a dash cam that records the Range Rover's plate. The truck driver hums to the radio and does not know he holds a witness. Near the ridge, the air grows thin and the sun falls behind a blue wall. They arrive near sunset when shadows grow long and people grow honest. The invitation was gentle. The plan inside it is not gentle at all. Smoke rises in curls from a small fire below the ridge. Chukwu, a woodcutter, warms his hands and listens to the valley's quiet. Then a crash splits the air, metal on rock, a sound with weight. He runs toward it, feet sliding on damp soil, heart loud in his chest. He finds a twisted wheelchair and a scarf snagged on a stubborn thorn. One red thread hangs down like an arrow, pointing toward broken branches. He follows the line and sees her breathing shallow, eyes barely open. Stay, he says softly. I will carry you. Do not let go. He lifts her with care, muscles burning, and steps slow over jagged stones. Rain begins, first thin, then heavy, drumming on the palm leaves above. He reaches his hut and lays her on a mat near the small fire. The roof leaks at the corner, but the flame holds and gives warm light. He cleans her wound with boiled water and torn cloth from his own shirt. Her pulse is weak but present, like a bird refusing the hunter's hand. He hangs the scarf by the door to dry. The red thread swings slightly. He wraps her legs and speaks to her as if she can hear every word. 3 times in the night, he wakes to feed the fire and check her breath. At dawn, she opens her eyes and whispers one word that tastes like iron. Return. He gives her tea with honey and asks no questions she cannot answer. Across the valley, a fuel truck rolls past a checkpoint with its camera on. The dashcam captured a Range Rover stopped where stopping is not allowed. Later, the driver will show it to a man in a tie from the city. But for now, the proof sleeps inside a memory card, quiet as a seed. Back at the hut, the woodcutter takes the red thread and a photo of the thorn. He places both in a tin box because poor men keep truth like treasure. She tries to sit up. Pain lifts and drops her like a wave. He steadies her. You live, he says. That is the first victory. The rest can wait. She nods once and saves her strength, eyes on the scarf by the door. Outside, the mountain breathes fog into the day. The fire answers with smoke. News in Lagos speaks of grief and flowers and a noble sudden loss. The city believes the story because grief is easier than doubt at breakfast. But truth is walking on sore feet, down a path of stones toward return. Mercy has rough hands and a quiet voice. Today it lives in a hut of timber. The scarf will dry. The thread will hold. The witness will speak when called. In Lagos, grief becomes a show with perfect lighting and careful tears. David and Amara speak softly into cameras and promise mercy in her name. They pose by flowers, hold hands, and bow to the city's sympathy. Every sentence is polished. Every pause is measured. The hurt feels rehearsed. They overperform sorrow to hide a hole they dug with their own hands. Billboards thank donors. Press posts glow. The story moves like a smooth river. But away from the lights, a door opens in a quiet flat. The mother sits by a small lamp, face thin, spirit steady, eyes awake. She breathes slow, touches her scarf, and remembers the red thread that held. Chukwu carried a letter to the road, then to a bus, then to town. The letter found an old ally with a long memory and honest spine. His name is Ifanyi. He once swore to her husband to guard the truth. He climbs the stairs, knocks twice, and sees a ghost who did not leave. For a long moment, he cannot speak. Then he bows and wipes his eyes. Madam, the city buried you, he says. But the grave is a paper lie. She opens a tin box. Inside the thread, a photo of the thorn and dates. She adds a second proof, a copy of the driver's dashcam file on a chip. The file shows a stop where no stop is allowed and shadows near the rail. Ifanyi's mouth sets into a line men wear when work becomes holy. He opens his laptop and begins to stitch a quiet case from hard facts. Hospital records show no body claimed under her name that week. A clerk says a death certificate arrived by courier, already stamped. The signature on it looks like hers, but the curve of the A is wrong. It is skilled forgery, not art, and patience will teach it to confess. Bank trails split like small streams and rejoin at shells with foreign names. Ifanyi flags each transfer, each midnight approval, each cheerful email stamp. He works by night and rests his eyes by day, counting breaths between steps. The mother watches, calm and fierce like someone who outlived the storm. How do I reclaim a life they buried? She asks in a low voice. With time, he says, and with quiet moves they cannot predict. You taught me once, she answers. Gold is a metal, grace is a compass. He smiles at that line because it still points to north in this city. They decide to let the story ripen until pride brings them to one room. Invitations will go out, lights will gather, cameras will wait for easy praise, and then the ghost will enter, not to haunt but to wake the living. The hall shines like glass and money. Musicians whisper scales behind the curtain. A banner reads, honoring the founding light of Gracemount. Guests lift their phones. David adjusts his cuff. Amara checks lipstick and angles herself for perfect angles. They expect applause, soft questions, and a standing toast for a future they planned. The host tells a sweet history and asks the crowd to hold their breath. The curtain begins to rise. The room tilts toward the light and stops moving. A wheelchair rolls into the white glow. A scar catches the lens like a flare. Some people gasp. Others fumble with cameras, hands shaking, minds refusing the math. She is here, breathing, watching. The living breath they tried to silence returns. The mother nods once to the crowd, then looks at the two who chose the cliff. Her voice is steady, not loud. You pushed a body, she says, not the truth. Murmurs spread like wind in dry grass. A few chairs scrape the polished floor. Ifanyi steps from the aisle and hands a sealed folder to two officers. Inside are copies, The forged death certificate, the loop transfers, the dashcam time. Screens on the walls shift from logos to facts, from slogans to weak signatures. Amara's smile breaks apart. Her hand searches for David's arm and finds only air. David's face goes pale, like chalk dragged across black stone in a quiet class. He opens his mouth and finds no words. The microphone tastes like dust. The mother keeps her eyes on him, not cruel, not kind, only clear. "You learned speed," she says, "but you forgot weight. A life has weight." She turns to the room. "We built Grace Mount with clean hands and slow steps. We lost both when fear outran gratitude." The hall holds the words without moving. For one long second, Lagos itself feels silent, like it is choosing a side. Somewhere near the back, an old manager begins to clap once, then again. The sound is small, honest, and brave. Others join, awkward, then firm. They do not clap for shame. They clap for truth standing up once in full light. She lowers the microphone and lets the officers walk where they must go. Truth needs a stage only once. After that, it travels by itself. 2 officers step forward with calm faces and careful hands, no rush, no noise. Cameras click like rain. The city watches through screens and through half-open doors. David lifts his palms, then drops them. The mask will not stay up anymore. Amara's whisper turns sharp, slicing air. "Say it was a mistake. Say anything." But the folder speaks better than mouths. Numbers, dates, and routes do not lie. A bracelet of steel closes with a short sound that feels longer than winter. Headlines sprout in seconds. Reporters speak fast. Streams light up with hot words. Some shout, "Jail them." Others write prayers for families split by greed. The mother keeps her seat and watches without flinching or cheering. "If this is justice," she says quietly, "let it repair more than punish." An officer nods. He has seen revenge. He prefers repair when the door is open. The crowd divides and then remembers its own mothers, its own promises, its own fear. In the comments, a line repeats, "We forgot to be grateful. We remember now." Outside, police lights paint the glass in red and blue that will soon fade. Inside, Ifani gathers the copies and signs the chain of custody with care. He thanks the clerk who first doubted the curve of an A on a form. He thanks the courier who kept a receipt, and the trucker with the quiet dash cam. Small people carried heavy truth. Today, that truth carries them back. David looks at the wheelchair and finds the only honest sentence he has left. "I was afraid of being second," he says, voice dry. "I made myself last." Amara searches the room for a soft corner and finds only the middle of it. She points at David, then at the crowd, then at nothing certain. The act is over. The mother turns slightly and speaks to the room, not only to them. "Grace Mount hasn't fallen," she says. "It was stolen. We will repair what we can." A murmur of relief moves like air after a storm breaks open a tight sky. She does not speak of revenge. She speaks of audits, returns, and new guardians. She asks old managers to step forward and hold the ledgers with clean hands. Hands rise. Soft voices answer yes. A rhythm of repair begins in plain words. As David passes, he hesitates, then bows his head. Not for cameras, for weight. The officers lead him on. The bracelets flash once and vanish into the hall. Outside, the night air smells like wet stone and tired flowers after bright lights. Lagos exhalas. The feed's calm. The city chooses a side and goes to sleep wiser. Rain makes the courthouse steps shine like old glass. People line the railings quietly. Inside, lights are bright, but the air feels heavy like a held breath. Reporters whisper dates and charges while the clerk arranges files into clean rows. David enters in a dark suit that no longer fits his story or his face. Amara follows, perfect hair, broken eyes. The room smells like paper and fear. The judge sits high, voice steady, neither cruel nor kind, only certain. Law names what conscience already knew. Today it will write those names down. The mother rolls in beside Ifani. She nods to the court, then rests. She does not look at her son yet. She looks at the evidence first. Dashcam stills light the screen. A stop where no stop is allowed, time-stamped. Bank trails move in thin lines and return to shells with foreign doors. An expert points at a signature and explains the curve that does not belong. The death certificate is a copy of her handwriting with the life removed. The clerk who spotted the wrong A lifts a hand and speaks softly. He says he almost ignored it, then remembered his mother's habit of careful loops. The room listens. A few people swallow hard. Truth arrives in small shoes. Amara's lawyer tries to pour doubt over the numbers. It slides off in pools. David watches his face on the screen. A blur near a rail he remembers. He wanted strength without humility. He chose the mask and it fused to him. Now it cracks under light. He keeps blinking as if light were wind. The judge asks brief questions, simple ones that feel heavier than speeches. Who benefited? Who signed? Who stood silent while harm was done? Answers walk across the room like tired men, but they arrive anyway. The mother finally turns to David. Their eyes meet. Time does not move. She speaks one sentence to the judge, voice low, steady, and exact. I ask for justice that repairs, not vengeance that feeds on ruins. A murmur runs through the gallery, surprised by strength without poison. The prosecutor reads the final motion. Fraud, forgery, attempted murder, all proven. For a moment, the clatter of keys outside sounds like winter rain. Verdict, guilty on every count. The gavel falls once and the sound hangs. Amara cries and tries to speak, but the words fall apart in her hands. David grips the table. His mouth works. His shoulders drop. He whispers, I did this. The judge looks at him for a long breath and then delivers the terms. Sentences are measured not to end a story but to stop its harm. Restitution is ordered. Assets must return. Audits will open locked rooms wide. Mercy is not the absence of consequence, the judge says. It is its guide. He turns to the mother. Do you wish to add anything before we close? She thinks of the plant by her window. Alive because it was tended daily. She thinks of the mountain fog and a thread that refused to break. She lifts her chin. Gold is a metal. Grace is a compass, she says. Let this house find its north again. The court officer writes that line down. When the gavel falls the second time, the room exhales and remembers to blink. The city outside sounds clearer somehow, like dust washed from a crowded street. Cameras flash. Doors open. The law has spoken the word the heart already knew. The prison door buzzes and opens just enough to let one chair pass through. A guard nods and waves them ahead. The floor is clean, the walls tired. The visiting room is glass and metal and a row of plastic chairs. David sits on one side, hands folded, eyes red but finally awake. The mother rolls in on the other side, scarf neat, breath steady. For a moment, neither speaks. Down the hall, keys clink like small bells. He starts first. I don't deserve to see you. I don't deserve breath. She places her palm against the glass. He mirrors it, fingers barely touching. Deserving is not the door, she says. Honesty is. You are here now. He tells her the truth as if a stone is leaving his chest. He was afraid of being second and became last. He chased applause. He mistook speed for power and power for love. He forgot weight. He says he sees the cliff in his sleep and wakes to falling. He says he hears the short scream and the silence after like winter. He says he would trade every bright headline for one clean day. The mother listens without blinking, as if each word should land and rest. Forgiveness is not cheap, she says. It is given and then it is proven. If you want it, build it. Small, daily. Not for me. For you. What do I build? He asks, voice thin, almost a child's again. Teach what you know, she answers. Read to those who cannot read yet. Carry what you can. Return what you took. Keep no lies, even small ones. Write to the court if you must. But write to your own heart first. He nods, shoulders shaking. A guard looks away to give them a little dignity. I forgive you, she says. I will not pretend it never happened. I forgive you so you can meet the man you threw away. He presses his forehead to the glass and lets the tears finally fall. On her side, she closes her eyes and breathes slowly until the room quiets. When she opens them, she smiles once, not wide but real, and lets it stand. Mercy does not erase consequence, she says. It gives consequence a future. I will visit again when visiting will help your work, not just your feelings. He nods again, then wipes his face with both hands like washing. The door buzzes. The chair turns. The moment ends, but its work starts walking. In the corridor, an inmate thanks David for last week's lesson on invoices. David says they will practice signatures today, the honest kind, slow and clear. The guard smiles without showing teeth. Even here, good work changes the air. Morning finds the tower quiet, like a body after surgery that went well. The old sign comes down with care, wrapped in cloth stored for the archives. A new plate rises in its place. Grace Mount Foundation, clear and simple. Not a fortress, a bridge. Not for hoarding. For healing. Easy to read. The mother stands in the lobby and greets staff by name as they arrive. She asks 3 questions that will now guide every budget and every plan. Who hurts? What helps? How soon can we start without cutting corners? Departments redraw maps. Profit centers become service lines with measurable outcomes. Accounts move from secrecy to sunlight. Dashboards show people helped, not only revenue. Legal drafts a charter that binds leaders to transparency, duty, and repair. Board seats open for workers, partners, and a seat reserved for the city. Vendors sign fair contracts that pay on time and refuse the old games. The first funds go to wheelchairs, training, and safe transport for caregivers at night. A small school opens in a neighborhood where the sidewalks broke long ago. The day it opens, uniforms are new, but the smiles look older than storms. Mothers line up for vocational classes that include childcare and hot meals. Old managers return to help audit the past and design clean systems. They speak softly, but their eyes shine the way good tools shine. A clinic floor is named for Chukwu, who carried truth with tired arms. He attends the ribbon cutting in his best shirt and says almost nothing. He keeps the tin box at home because poor men do not lose treasure. The foundation hires 2 bus drivers from the prison reintegration program. They drive carefully, arrive early, and keep the engines warm for elders. Monthly reports feel different. Pages start with stories, then numbers prove the story's true. Donors stop asking for glossy galas and ask for receipts and outcomes instead. The city notices the tone and starts sending problems that need patient hands. An elevator speech changes from growth and margin to reach and dignity. The plant on the mother's window grows taller and leans toward the afternoon sun. She waters it and sends a copy of the charter to the High Court. Attached is a note. Audits complete, assets returned, programs visible to the public. The judge replies with one line, "North found." It is enough for a smile. Journalists visit and see ledgers on open tables and doors without extra locks. They find no secret corridors. They find a map on the wall that anyone reads. It shows schools, clinics, routes, and a box labeled "Promises kept so far." Some whisper that she is soft now, that she let love dull the edge. She answers politely, "Soft is what a wound needs before it closes." Power that does not heal is not power. It is panic wearing gold. She repeats it on camera once so young founders can clip it and remember. The team releases a training. Ethics by design with checklists and phone numbers. Junior staff learn how to refuse a wrong order without losing their voice. Senior staff learn how to invite questions and pay for the time it takes. No one applauds in hallways for saying no. They applaud for building yes. Jobs return that were lost to fear. Skilled hands come home to clean work. The payroll grows on purpose and on budget. It feels like planting season. A final plaque goes by the elevator where everyone must see it twice daily. It reads in plain letters, "Gold is a metal. Grace is a compass." Visitors take photos. Some cry, some laugh, some stand in quiet relief. The foundation's buses roll out at dawn. White paint bright against Lagos gray. On board, children practice reading road signs. Elders count change and plan markets. A mother with new training checks her schedule and smiles into a small future. Afternoon brings wind and dust, but the buildings hold and the roofs do not leak. In a classroom, a tutor writes, "Forgiveness is the last victory," and explains why. He does not mention prison. He mentions weight and the cost of shortcuts. By evening, the lobby is busy with volunteers signing up for weekend repairs. The mother watches from her office, not as queen, but as keeper of pace. The city lights come on. The plant closes its leaves gently, like a book. She sits with a cup of tea and the day's reports slow and clear. Somewhere across town, a man finishes a literacy lesson and smiles into sleep. This is not a fortress. This is a foundation. It holds so others can stand. At quarter's end, they publish a simple report online that anyone can read. It lists costs, outcomes, and mistakes, then notes how each mistake was fixed. Comments fill with questions, and answers arrive within a day without spin. A university partners to study results and trains interns to measure impact. Another firm donates code for scheduling so drivers waste fewer empty miles. The markets near the clinic stay open later because the streets feel safer now. In the evening call to prayer, the mother pauses, head bowed, hands still. She thanks God for breath, for work, for the hard mercy that did not break. She thinks of the mountain, the thorn, the red thread, and the dashcam light. None of them were big alone. Together, they pulled a city toward its north. She looks at the plaque once more and says the line under her breath. "Gold is a metal. Grace is a compass." Tomorrow we follow it again. She turns off the lamp, goes home. The yard is quiet except for chalk on a board and slow voices. David stands in front of 30 men and writes numbers they need for work. He shows them how to read an invoice and check a signature without fear. A guard watches. then looks down, half hiding a smile he did not expect. One man raises a hand and says, "Teacher, can you say it again but slower?" David nods and kneels by his desk, eye level now, patient like running water. He used to chase applause. Today he chases clarity. That is the test. He passes paper around. "Find the mistake," he says. "Circle it, then breathe." A young inmate finds it fast and grins. Another misses it twice, then sees. They clap for each other, not loud but real, like small engines starting. A bell rings. The class ends. David gathers sheets as the doorway fills. The mother enters, plain scarf, warm eyes, no crowd, only honest time. He wants to stand tall. Instead, he bows. Then both of his knees touch floor. "Can I ever be more than what I did?" he asks, voice shaking. "You can," she says, "because you are doing it now. Service is your name. Rise slow," she adds. Knees that learn to bend can finally stand. He stands, not higher than her, just level with what is true. She leaves a notebook. Inside the first page, today's clean work becomes tomorrow's strength. He presses the book to his chest and breathes like a man who just arrived. Morning at the tower is gentle. The plant on the window drinks light. The scarf is mended. The red thread is stitched like a quiet road home. She waters the soil and reads 3 letters from people the foundation helped. A child writes, "I read a bus sign alone." An elder writes, "My chair rolls." A mother writes, "I cook at night again. The lights on our street stay on." She keeps her promise to guard what they built with grace, not tricks. She walks the lobby with slow steps and a strong voice, greeting by name. Gratitude guards what greed wastes. She says it once and lets the day agree. On her desk sits a small tin box with a photo of a thorn. It reminds her that tiny hooks can hold a life when the cliff is near. Outside, Lagos hums. Inside, the compass points north. That is enough. If this story touched your chest even a little, act before the feeling fades. Don't wait for a fall to learn gratitude. One share might save a hand on a ledge. Comment right now. "Thank you, Mother, for lifting me." Say your city. Lagos, Johannesburg, Accra, Nairobi, New York, London, Toronto. Let us see where this voice of compassion is still alive. Like this video if you believe power should heal the people it touches. Share this with one person who needs to hear it today. Do it now. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a chapter that might change a life. Your story has a mountain. Your heart has a compass. Choose the compass tonight.